Hi everyone, my name is Bella and I am from Massachusetts. And for my first field placement, I actually did a split field placement. So I was in an outreach and tracking office for the first half of my field experience, which meant I was working with kids and their families. So all of the kids were involved with DCF, which is the Massachusetts version of like Child Protective Services. And so the parents can like either sign on voluntarily for services if they're struggling, or social workers who are already involved with cases will put us in for a number of reasons. A lot of it we come up with like our own treatment plans. A lot of like the cases we get involve family therapy. So the family therapy or family therapist would go out once a week and work with the whole family on goals. Sometimes they'll meet with like kids individually, parents individually, to sit there and like address like any concerns they have or talk to them specifically about certain topics. And then in addition to a therapist, they would have what we call a tracker, which is kind of resembles a mentor, but we go out 4 times a week and we'll sit there and go and see the kids, check in, work with them on their own treatment goals, whether it's getting a job, getting like schoolwork done, whatnot, like whatever they're struggling with, we will work on. It had like a whole like on call factors of like parents are struggling, they can call, and someone's like always on. So like if it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, a parent can like call the pager and a caseworker will answer and call them back. And so the reason I switched is because they actually offered me a job, so I ended up taking the job. I still currently work in the outreach and tracking department. So in January, I flipped to a residential program, which I've worked in residential programs before, so I was familiar with it, but not so much like the clinical side. So for the clinical side of it, it was an all-girls long-term program. The girls were ages 11 to 18, and all of them have been in either foster care or another placement prior for at least 3 months. And so they put them in the long term placements so that they're not flip flopping between short term placements. And so they have consistency. It's also like a higher level of care than foster care. So, like, a lot of the kids there had like issues around like substance abuse, running behaviors, truancy, stuff like that, where they just need that higher level of care. But when I was there, I got to have kids, like my own set of kids. I would meet with a couple of times a week. Um, I would get to host my own groups, which is probably one of my favorite things to do. Um, is coming up with like different group ideas, like what to do, icebreakers, whatnot. Like I don't know, I just like loved planning them. But I know for as far as like becoming like a clinical social worker, um, one of my like biggest hesitations would be sitting there and learning how to apply theory to like the situations going on to like how I'm doing like my work. So I know at least during my field experience, it was like one of like my like main focuses is was I applying like enough theory to what I was doing? Like how can I apply it more? And my supervisor for my field just kind of told me to like take a deep breath and that it all just kind of comes with experience. That like the more you do it, like the more you know, the more you can sit there and put in. So definitely like applying theory is one thing that I definitely like have hesitations about that I foresee like being an issue at first. But I'm just kind of like I have high hopes that like experience and like the more classes I take like this one, the more comfortable I become like applying those theories. Another challenge I foresee is being able to take a step back from my work. It's definitely something I definitely struggle with now, where I become so worried about like my kids, what they're doing, like if they're okay when I'm off, that I'm not actually taking time off. Like I have a work iPhone that I constantly check. I like forget to turn off sometimes. I forget to turn off my emails, so I'm like reading them on my days off. And it's definitely just like not a good situation. And it's something I'm definitely working on now to sit there and try to like correct. That way I can try to avoid burnout because that's definitely not something I want to do, especially like when I want like long-term jobs or whatnot. So it definitely is in those, and I feel like it's better to address them now versus like years later when it's a bigger problem than it is now. But I'm excited to work with all of you and can't wait to see where this class takes us.